I hope I lined it up correctly. I don't know. You may only have like half of me on this video because for some reason my phone's not connecting to it. Actually, do you want to just peek and see if I'm at least somewhere in the frame?
Does it need to be on the right or left or just in the
Whatever, as long as you can, doesn't matter. I can crop it later.
Behind that thing that's that little.
Oh, that's perfect. That's kind of in the middle then.
I see you.
Thank you.
I see you.
All right, so one of the things we had done in previous weeks was noted how Mark is very dense. He crams a lot in a few words. And he has some interesting techniques that he uses, and you can start to notice them. One of them, which we're going to see today, is how he interrupts a story with another story, like a sandwich. You know, he'll start something, say something else, and then finish it up. And that is usually a way of saying what's in the middle, we should understand in terms of what's around it. So in the very beginning, you could go back, by the way, I've mentioned to most of you, Penelope has asked me to do these, to video these meetings from the beginning, and I finally posted them all on YouTube. So if you needed to go back or if, want to look back at what we've done, you can do that. But what we noticed about Mark was he began his gospel with John the Baptist. And John the Baptist his job was to prepare, get everything ready. And he harkens back to Old Testament passages. And then Jesus comes and is baptized by John. And then it's a nice transition to, is he okay? To now we have this inauguration. Boom, the ministry of Jesus begins when John's hospitalized, imprisoned. So we noticed things that he did, how he healed many. We noticed how quickly Mark moves through the story immediately. And last week we did most of chapter 4, which have these parables. 5 parables we went through last week. And I had said maybe we hold on to verse 35 in chapter 4 until today. Why? It's not a parable. It's going back to some other themes. So quickly review on the parables. One of the phrases that kept coming up was kingdom of God. And he was talking about how we react to the kingdom of God arriving. And now we have this, I'll just read the rest of chapter 4. We'll start there. So this is in verse 35. If you have the paper, it's not on the first page. I couldn't just start in the middle of the chapter, so you had all of 4. On that day when evening had come, he said to them, "Let's go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. And other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing? Don't you care?" And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. He said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Okay, so if you remember, what have the disciples witnessed already? Have they witnessed any of Jesus's acts?
The healing the sick.
Yeah.
Casting out demons.
Yep.
Casting out demons, right.
Right? The leper, the withered hand, where they're approaching him saying, in the synagogue, "Wait, what are you doing? It's the Sabbath, can't do that." So it seems they should have known he was kind of special. but they miss it. Now, let's set the scene. On that day, when evening had come. So think back. Actually, this is why I included all of chapter 4, because the beginning of chapter 4 tells you, sort of sets the scene. Where was all those parables, where did he tell them?
He was on the boat, he was teaching the multitudes on the land.
You got it, yeah. So he's in the boat, they're on the land, and then it says in our first verse for today, on that day when evening had come, he said to them, let's go across to the other side. So, and then this string, and leaving the crowd, just meaning pulling away, I guess. They took him with them in the boat. Well, that's good. Just as he was. Okay, that's a strange thing. One of the things, again, for the newer folks, when you see strange things, you should slow down and go, what is that about? So it's strange, just as he was. Any ideas why Mark, who likes to keep things nice and short, includes that little tidbit?
Well, he didn't go home and pack.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't go home and change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He was out there all day, and there's no transition. It's immediate.
Yeah.
So,
He was working hard.
and other boats were with him. I will be honest, I never noticed that little bit until this time going through Mark, that there were other boats with him. What is that?
So does that mean people pulled up on the boats and were listening to him?
Well, he's on the boat, and they're just now hightailing it.
Other boats.
Oh, I see. They could have been there for the parable part, you mean? They certainly could have been there, but now we see it. They were with him. So they're like, well, he doesn't like the crowds. We don't have time to run around the whole sea to meet him at the other side. We'll just go along with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat so that the boat was already filling. Now, we had talked about this. The part where he had been teaching was a bit of a cove. I actually found a picture of this and can show this next week because I also found a 55% off little projector on sale. So I bought that, and we should have it for next Friday. And then I could project things somewhere and show you pictures like this. But that was sort of an inlet, kind of. And now they're out in the open part going across, and it's rough. And apparently at night it was rougher anyway. So if a squall came up at night, it was going to be worse. So that the boat was already filling. He was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him. So, number one, he's asleep. Doesn't seem worried, does he?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably moving a lot.
Oh, it's probably
He's sleeping. He may even be wet because the water's coming in, but he's asleep. And what do you think about what they said to him? Anybody surprised that there's a tone, isn't there?
Yeah.
Don't you care? As if,
And of course, you're sitting there thinking now, like, well, he's in the boat with you. He's okay, so what are you worried about? But they're not thinking that, obviously.
yes. And notice something. What was Jesus's job? Anybody, before he became a preacher? And he was a carpenter. What were most of his apostles, the disciples?
fishermen.
So who would know more about boats and storms and danger?
Right.
And they're like, dude, this is serious and you're asleep.
Yeah.
So he wakes up. And what happens then?
He calms the storm.
Yeah. He said, peace, be still. And the wind ceased. So a few things are interesting here. The phrase the word he uses, be still, is the same word he used in chapter 1 when he said, was it to the... Who was it? It was to maybe the leper? Nope, it was, I think, to one of the the unclean spirit. Astonish immediately the unclean spirit. Yes, that's where it is. Sorry, verse 25 of chapter 1. But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." The word is almost like a muzzle. And it's only used there. Here's why I bring that up. One of the things that I think is often worth noting is if a word, like a unique phrase, it's only used, I think, 2 other times in the New Testament. So it's a rare word. When that kind of thing happens, it's supposed to bring you back, bring something to mind. So let's, for the sake of argument, grant me that there's a reason that strange phrase was repeated using a not a very common word. What might be the reason? What would be the point of making us think back to that healing?
Well, if he was casting out the demon in chapter 1, then maybe this storm wasn't a natural storm. Maybe it was a interference by Satan or trying to stop him from.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other thoughts about it? Mm-hmm. So now we can begin. Sorry, we're going to have to just grab some chairs and. So, yes, I think that it could be that. But what ends up happening in both cases? In the case of chapter 1,
To what he's saying.
they submit. So now think about this. Who else is able to speak to
Yeah.
a storm and say, be muzzled,
Yeah, so he's talking to the storm, not to the people.
right?
Yeah.
He's telling the storm. He
Okay.
gets up. He rebukes it. It says, and he rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." So if we were supposed to learn with, for example, the unclean spirits, who, remember, they would use his name, and it was a failed attempt to control that. So somehow there was this idea that if I know your name, I'm in charge, just like they had been with the person that they were possessing. And it didn't work. He was bigger and stronger than that. And he was able to heal diseases that otherwise didn't get healed. And even to the point, will not here, but where he'll let people who are blind see again, which was not done. Here we have another exercise of power. He tells the wind, he rebukes it and says to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased. And there was a great calm. Boom, it immediately responds. So if anybody remembers Bible stories from when you were a kid, there's one favorite kid story. There's one favorite kid story that has to do with somebody sleeping in a boat in a storm. Anybody remember?
Are you talking about Jonah?
Jonah. Jonah is, God says, go to Nineveh, and he says, nope, and he goes the other way. And he hops on the next boat, and he falls asleep. And they have to wake him because there's this horrible storm, and nothing they can, again, seasoned sailors, nothing they can do stops it. And in that case, Jonah said, well, they said, wake up, pray to your gods. Maybe your gods will do it. And then in the end, he said, just throw me over. And they're like, no. And they're like, you want this to stop? That's how you do it. Because it was God was forcing this to happen, and he gets thrown over. And one more comment I'd make about Jonah. It isn't in Mark, but it is in, I don't remember. Matthew, I think, where Jesus said, a stubborn and rebellious people asks for a sign, but the only sign that will be given you is the sign of Jonah, who was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the whale. So there's this, link. So, Sue, do you mind sliding your chair a tad that way, then I can see Chris?
Oh, sure.
So again, that weird phrase, be still, is supposed to remind you of the power he exercised over demons who were ripping apart, the people they were possessing. And here again, and it immediately responds. Now he turns to the disciples in the boat, the guys who've been fishing their whole lives in that very sea, who have experienced storms before. And he says, why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith? And their response. This is an interesting response.
Filled with fear.
They don't say, phew, thank you, got it. Now they're afraid. And we have a hint as to why. Why?
Their eyes on the storm.
What's that?
Their eyes are on the storm and not on.
Right. But that's not why they're afraid now. That's why they were afraid.
They're afraid.
And they were angry.
Stop.
And also, by the way, who told them to ship out and go across the sea?
He did.
Yeah, like, dude, you have
On the
no.
other side.
So this is not probably the thing they would have done. They're probably already miffed. They're probably exhausted too. And then the storm, and he's sleeping, and they let their annoyance creep out a bit. And it says, what's funny, it doesn't say they're afraid before. It says they woke him and said to him, don't you care that we're perishing? They assumed it was a done deal. Unless something happened, we're going to die. I don't even know what they wanted of him. I think they were just saying, join us. It's the end.
Yeah.
Come on. So, but here you have it in verse 41.
But, excuse me, it's
Yeah.
almost like they woke him up because they wanted him to do something. in a
Maybe,
way,
yep.
But yet, when he did it,
Yeah.
it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah. I
We're
didn't.
still struggling with their faith.
Yep. And he says that.
Who
Yep.
he is.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the things you're going to see, like an old one step forward, 2 steps back with them. They do make progress, but it isn't nice straight ahead.
Well,
It's
that's encouraging.
yes, it is.
Very.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had done the parable of the sower. Was that just last week?
Yeah.
And that uncomfortable feeling when we got to the thorns where it chokes up, the cares of the world choke up the plant. I didn't like that one. And here again, this idea of you ask God for things and you're shocked and a little afraid when he answers. But we have the hint in the text. What makes them so afraid?
Well, they said, who then is this? So I think.
Whoa.
Because the
Yeah,
wind
it's
is
like-
Even.
It's like a-
Yeah.
Yes, even the wind and the sea obey him. He gave a
not
command.
just demon-possessed people.
No. Which is why there's, I'm sure, some connection to this idea of evil. There was in the ancient Near East. But natural forces, there's a lot of, in the surrounding religions, they actually named their gods, things like sun, moon. There was a storm god. You would appeal to the gods against the evil of, a storm and such. So here again, you have that, and they're shocked. Not shocked, just afraid. Why would having somebody on your side who can command the wind and the sea, and they obeyed him, be frightening?
Well, it's so much bigger than what they were thinking. I mean, when you say you don't even know why they said what they wanted from you, when they said, teacher, why, don't you care that we're perishing? What do they want him to get up and comfort them while they perish together?
Right, right.
And then he just,
He was bigger than they.
he's bigger.
he
Ever
was learning how big
yes.
he was.
Yes, and I think that's something that, this is why, this is not anything anyone had experienced.
And because being human, they thought since they were with him or he was with them, however you want to look at that, they were safe to begin with. So when they
Perhaps, yeah.
it's a test for them.
Yeah, that could be that as well. Again, there are no, answer keys in the back of the book for us, but But that makes sense as well. You know, always hold, like, there are things you think, maybe it could be this, hold those a little bit loosely. And then there are some things where, what you know from there, who then is this? Is that this is a lot bigger than we thought. They already believed in him. They left everything to follow. Remember this weird scene where, Andrew, Peter, follow me. They just drop everything and go. And then the Zebedee's sons are in the boat. They leave dad in the boat and they go. And he has to finish up the net mending that they were doing. So it's an immediate and a thorough control. And they went, they saw something, but I don't think they've reckoned with just how powerful this is. Is this, I mean, let's just face it, no one's ever seen God in human form. All right, so as we move on, now we're going to look at, remember I said we have no, this is a longer story. This is actually a pretty extended story, verses 5 through 13. Actually, it goes on a bit, but so chapter 5.
Verse 1.
Actually, it goes all the way to 20. So, Pat, are you willing to read that for us? It's long. Chapter 5, yeah.
They came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the
Whoever, Gerasenes, I think.
Gerasenes. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he wrenched the chains apart and he broke the shackles in pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones.
All right, will you just stop there for a minute, please? So, picture the scene. What's this about shackles and he's tearing them off?
It's like a monster.
Yeah, he's out, you can control him. He's out of control. And I like the part where it says, verse 3, he lived among the tombs, which means he's not quite in town, but everyone knew him, right? No one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain.
That's a cemetery.
I think so, yeah. So he breaks them and you know, that's a horrible scene. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. Remember when, well, let's read this through. This is a really good picture of a before and after. What being possessed looks like and being freed from that looks like. And note, the term they use is unclean. This is regularly used and it's some sort of possession because he rebukes him and he, you know, has a name and he says, we know who you are. So unclean. Remember when we did the leper? Why we thought that was significant had to do with the fact that if you were a leper, you could not be part of the community. Because you would contaminate. So there's a huge divide. If you think of it in terms, there's so many ways people have tried to frame it. Sacred and profane was an old term that some used. But the idea of there's pure and there's impure. And mixed in with that were physical things as well. Physical things made you impure. So the idea is it is in this camp, the bad camp, the unclean camp, the one that is not able to interact with humans in any normal fashion, which is a setup for what's going to come in a bit. All right. You want to keep reading, Pat, or you want me to pass it on? Hold on one second. Yep.
I'm confused about unclean. So does that mean you sin and you're unclean and these things happen to you?
Sometimes, and that's something, they thought that, and at one point asked him, well, who is unclean? This man or his, Pharisees are kind of trying to catch him. And he said, neither. But this is so that the power of God can.
To be clean, you have to do a ritual?
So all of the laws, you're asking a huge question. It's great though, it's good.
I'm lost on that. I'm like, I wonder you know the answer to that.
Okay, so one of the things, if this is, Pat, you had mentioned when you got to Leviticus, you just powered right through that. I didn't. I fell. I'm like, what? Mold? Red mold? Green mold? What do you do with mold? It is an extensive treatment of what to do with a given disease or a given issue that made you unclean. Now, keep in mind, unclean meant out of the camp. You're not allowed.
That's a physical
It's literally a physical, yes. And it deals with all of them. And each one has its own prescription of what has to be done and for how long before you're able to go back. Some things are, wash this and then wait 7 days and then you could go back. And in all of them, it was sort of the priest had to give his blessing. So check it out, go, and now you can go back in part of the community. So it was a very clear separation, and it was a physical separation. But as with so many things that we read in the Old Testament, a lot of it is instructive for us, maybe not physically. That there's an uncleanness. There's a line in, I think it's Habakkuk, where he says that the Lord's eyes are too pure to look upon evil. Like there's a separation, there's a gap. And only the pure are in the fold, and the impure, the unclean, are not. In order to get back in, you need to undergo some process of cleansing. So, but it's a huge question because you're asking basically what's the relationship. Well, first,
before Jesus died on the cross. That's what gets me.
oh yeah,
So you really are, because we have Christ as our barrier, right? Or with the word. Now they don't, but still God looked upon them that did the things that God told them to do to be clean, and they were
so again, these are,
confused me.
well, it is confusing. One of the things I think is the hardest hill to climb for most Christians is what the heck do we do with the Old Testament?
Yes.
And I think in some ways, like we had literal procedures for physical ailments. And now, in fairness, penicillin was unknown. So there were things that would spread, and you wanted to minimize that. So there was a obvious benefit to,
Separation.
right.
Yeah.
But it is also instructive for us in so many ways. Even last week's parables, there were a lot of farming things and sowing, and it goes in and it comes out, and you don't know quite what it is at first. All of this world that God made is it filled with images and pictures that help you understand bigger truths. That's a real thing when the plant goes in, and then only a little blade comes up, and you're not sure if that's pepper or tomato yet until more. Okay, now I know which, because the leaf is different. And so, in all ways, when you're reading, notice, just allow the metaphor or parable or analogy to work a bit. And in this case, I think, yes, there were actual uncleanness. There were physical reasons to do that in the Old Testament. But boy, is it a great picture of what happens when we sin and how we,
That's right.
Because
a bad apple will then.
From God.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. There's a gulf, but it also affects others.
Correct.
There is no such thing as, well, my sin's just mine.
Right.
I don't like that either any more than the thorns from last week. But, but the question's huge. And for me, it took.
It's hard to know what's for now in the Old Testament, because some of the Old Testament has been almost like deleted because Christ came and there's grace.
Not deleted, just understood differently.
I don't get it.
So one of the things,
Oh.
we can talk after, but the Old Testament's my field, not New Testament. And what I see in the Old Testament is this really bright thread that carries all the way through it to point to Jesus.
Yeah, that's good.
point after point, story after story, even rules and laws that point to what we need to understand who Jesus was and why. You got it, yeah, would you? Thanks.
Just put it on mute.
I don't know how to
So-
do it.
Oh, someone will help you.
Yeah, so that we'll talk later.
Yeah, that's, it's a
Stuff
really
like that.
good
Like, okay,
question.
some of those laws aren't for today.
Right. But for today, the reason I even brought that up is the idea of the two, everything's split between unclean, clean,
My phone?
pure, impure, sacred, regular. Profane is a term,
Lane, that would be very hard.
so.
Isn't this use of unclean just a synonym for demon?
It is in this case, but the reason I even raised the question about, you find it? Was this an Android?
Yeah,
Anybody know Android and how to?
Yeah, you
mine's
can pass
not
over
like
here.
that.
That's an iPhone.
That's an iPhone. That's
Oh,
why I don't know.
on the side then.
Can you get me
I
in?
think
What's your
it's
phone?
It's a,
It's two, just
Oh,
press.
No, no, no.
one.
If-
1-0-0.
I don't think,
Mine were-
on the side,
It's on the side, two.
The left side.
other side,
This is just wrong.
that little button on the top, toggle it.
I don't have to do two sides.
I don't want to have to do.
You see it, Barb? There's,
It's right the other
We'll just
side.
have to
I
make
think. It's
sure
the
I
left
found it
side.
on
Yeah, the
before
left
we
side.
leave.
I was just gonna try to put it on mute.
Yeah, that's, I always forget.
thank you, you did it.
Okay, there you go.
That's what I
Yeah,
did.
left
That's
side.
right.
We'll get you out of there.
Thanks, Ro. So, all right. I'm tempted to make a joke about unclean versus clean phones and, you know, sort of.
Same on my hand.
I just got rid of the demon.
Yeah, see,
How we all jump.
peace, be still. Chris, back to your comment. Yes, that we know that's what we're dealing with for other reasons in the story. But I wanted to point out the unclean to make the categorical point, the idea that lots of things fit into the idea of what's not clean conceptually. It's kind of almost a very simple way to pick teams. The problem is it's really, really hard to be on the clean team and the pure team. So it's uncomfortable. But this is a case where you have him, what's he doing to this guy? Well, let's read on and see. Okay, so we got through what?
We're on 6.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you mind going or you want me to pass it on, Pat? Anybody?
I'll read.
Okay.
Where did we stop?
6.
6, I'll,
Start
I'll,
on 6?
yes, please.
All right. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him. And crying out with a loud voice, he said, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you, by God, do not torment me." For he was saying to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." And Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now a great herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him, saying, "Send us to the pigs, let us enter them." So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs. And the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the sea.
Good, let's stop there. So we start out where he's cutting himself and screaming all day, all night, and he's, probably, even if he could break the shackles, it's, I'm sure, going to hurt him in the process. Then this verse 6, then when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him. Okay, just for a minute, you're a disciple walking along, you just got off the boat, you're walking with Jesus, and what do you see? Whoa, this crazy guy screaming,
Running towards you.
and yeah, this
How did
is,
he know that was,
finish the question.
He knows Jesus.
how did he know that was Jesus, was my question.
Yeah,
The man I knew was Jesus, it was the unclean
demon.
spirit.
Yeah.
the demon did.
Yeah.
Or
And
in this case, plural,
Okay.
demons.
yes, and notice he said,
Well, why would he run to Jesus? He'd be running the other way.
Isn't this interesting? Yeah.
It's challenging, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wondered about that too, but then it fell down.
Couldn't run from Jesus.
But he fell down before
he
him.
had the authority, right?
Yes.
The king.
In James, I believe it's James, where he said, you know, you believe, you do well. Even the demons believe, and they shudder. They're afraid.
They know who he is.
So there is that. Now, look what else it says in an interest. I adjure you by God, don't torment me. Verse 8 is interesting. He says, because he, Jesus, was saying to him, the demon-possessed person or the demon itself, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. So the way it's phrased, it's almost as if the demon heard that first. So we're told later, like, again, you're next to him, and there's just like, and he's running at you, and he's falling on your feet. And, you know, Jesus, in the midst of that, was saying, come out of him.
Very calmly, too. He didn't freak out.
That's presumably, yeah.
He wasn't even, what do you call it? Like when you see somebody, well, I don't know if you guys know. If you see somebody having a manifestation, I mean, they always teach you, like,
He wasn't wary.
don't freak out.
Yeah.
You know who you are and your authority, and you calmly just tell it to leave. And Jesus did that, which I thought was really cool. He knew who he was.
Yeah. And notice what the spirit or whatever, the unclean spirit says. What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? So we have his name, Jesus. That's new. They knew he was his relation. They knew he was, in the other accounts we've had so far. And now he calls him by name, Jesus, Son of the Most High God. It's the area they're in is at the Gerasenes. The whole point of mentioning that, I believe, is to show we're not in Jewish territory. We're in Gentile territory. And this is, Sea of Galilee is, you know, well within Israel, but there's a religion just to the north of it, Canaanite religion. And Most High is a term that they will have used to reference their deity. So it is Son of the Most High God. He is ascribing deity to Jesus by saying that. I also thought the phrase was worth noting, what have you to do with me? So this is a really weird construction. It literally is what to me or to you. Or what to me and to you. What to me and to you. And it's the same phrase that Jesus uses in the Gospel of John at the wedding feast at Cana, when his mom says, psst, they're running out of wine. And he says, I mean, in various translations, but he's saying the same thing. What's that? What to me or to you, woman, he says. In other words, so what's that have to do with us, is kind of the phrase. I just thought it was interesting because it's not used all that much. And I have nothing deep to say about it. It was just I thought that was interesting. So what to me and to you, Jesus, Son of the Most High, I adjure you by God. Now he's telling him what to do, begging, but do not torment me. And the torment is what? Come out of him. So once again, we have this confrontation. That's another theme we have talked about in past weeks, the idea of people confronting Jesus and his response. Look at his response. What's your name? So he spoke Jesus' name. Jesus comes back with, what's your name? And again, remember, the idea of knowing someone's name meant you had some level of control over them.
Power, yeah.
And power. It is, for example, I was going to say, only in recent history do we use our first names as often as we do. There were levels of knowing someone's name had a level of intimacy. So what does he answer? My name is Legion, for we are many. Anybody heard the word legion before?
Oh, angels talking about.
Military, yeah. Yeah.
A legion meant a certain number.
Yeah, it was the largest collection of soldiers, the legion.
There's a specific number tied to it, at least with the Roman armies there was.
Yeah, and there's a range, I think, depending on who you asked back then, but it's at least 2,000 people in a legion in the Roman army. up to 6,000. But of any grouping of soldiers, it's the largest. The point is, without, you don't need to know precise number. They didn't either. What's the point? There's a whole lot of us. We are legion. My name is Legion, for we are many. And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. I meant to look that up. I thought that was a strange phrasing, the country, but I didn't do any research on what that means. Any thoughts?
I'm thinking
Those
demons
principalities.
are assigned to a certain
Region.
geography.
Region.
Maybe.
Region. There's regional.
Like the gods were regional. That's
there
true.
are regions where they territory or whatever. Maybe they get in trouble. Maybe Satan would get real mad at them or something. I don't know.
Honestly, it's not a bad point, because one of the things you will in the ancient Near Eastern world, where the Old Testament was, there were gods that were local, and they had this idea that if you defeated and destroyed that temple where the god was, you had control, and that god couldn't cross the boundaries too. So that's actually a great explanation. Thanks, Chris and Barb. And now verse 11. Great herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him, saying, "Send us to the pigs, let us enter them." So he gave them permission. So these unclean spirits, thousands of them, many of them, that were tormenting this guy and unable to utterly vanquish him, he's still alive, go and take over, what did you say, 2,000?
Yeah, 2,000.
So maybe that was the working number in their heads of the legion. I know that I saw 2,000 was one number, up to 6,000 was another.
Per pig.
Exactly, one each. But what was the effect? What
They died.
They went crazy. The pigs went crazy.
the pigs couldn't resist. All of them, the whole herd. This poor guy had been fighting with this army in him that so quickly kills this herd of pigs.
I always felt bad for the pigs.
I know.
I'm like, why did he do that? Why did Jesus hurt the pigs? Why did they jump off the cliff?
I just think of pork chops, I'm sorry.
But still, it's to teach us something.
So look at the rest of this part. The herdsmen fled and told it in the city and in the country. And people came to see what it was that had happened. And they came to Jesus and saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there, clothed and in his right mind.
And they were afraid.
And once again, oh boy. And those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and to the pigs. And they began to beg Jesus to depart from their region. Let's stop there for a minute.
You know what, I had a feeling Jesus cured this man of the demons.
Mm-hmm.
But the herdsman lost 2,000 pigs,
Mm-hmm.
and he isn't redeemed. I mean,
Seems unfair, huh?
that is very unfair.
Well, I don't have an answer. And it's funny because that bothers other people. And I saw one person said, well, maybe they were Jews and they were herding pigs and they're not supposed to do pigs, and that's why it was punishment. I think it's a bit of a stretch. I think they were just herds.
But he was in
Gentile country. Yeah.
Gentile country.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of that is, what's more important? A man's life.
There we go.
Or a herd of pigs.
Right.
So we're supposed to probably kind of look at it like that.
I think the other part for me was this, what really struck me was how violent this man had, the violence in him, that it could take a whole herd. That's huge.
Yeah.
And pigs are not little, they're in the stampede over the cliff. This was, I'm sure, quite a sight.
Yes.
I think it's funny also, what's the immediate response? Then we're told, we hadn't even seen the herdsman before. We just saw, there's some pigs there, send us there. Now we have, the herdsman fled. Told you in the city and in the country. They made some good progress, and then people now are coming. And they came to Jesus, saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, clothed in his right mind. And they were afraid. And again, they were afraid. If it's similar to the disciples on the boat, why were they afraid?
It's kind
Well,
of like,
it
be
is-
careful what you wish
It's gotta
for.
be overwhelming, I mean, to,
This is really
Yeah.
very powerful.
Well, and it's
Ooh.
like anything going, oh, I'd love to see, wouldn't that be amazing to see miracles? And then you see it and you're like,
yeah, what
you know, kind of like be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Like, you want to see
Right.
these great manifestations, but when they come, you're probably like, whoa.
And that, but notice it's not about the pigs that they say that. It said they saw him,
Well, right.
the man,
Well, because he was so violent.
They all knew that,
Strong as
yes.
can be, yeah.
and now he's dressed and sitting calmly. Whoa.
Yeah.
This, again, what you have in all of these is sort of God in Christ coming into the world and showing his godness in these things. Only God does things like this. So they began to beg Jesus to depart from their region. Why?
They were afraid of him.
You're afraid of the power, right? My
Yeah,
point is, God's still that powerful, and we take it all for advantage. Because if you see a miracle or whatever, if you put yourself in those shoes, you would be humbled, right, towards God. You'd be like, oh, like wake up to truth. He's super strong and powerful, and he could disintegrate me. I'm going to yield to him and honor
Yeah.
him and respect God and do what I'm supposed to do. I mean, that's me in that situation.
yeah. Well,
But I
there.
could also get hurt if I disobey. I think that would be another thought. Like, he's so strong, I could be annihilated.
Well,
Right?
take the legion as an example. He ran to him and bowed down and said, "Get away. What do you have to do with us?" It's both and, I think. You have this fear and you're drawn to it and you're intrigued by it and you're awed by the power and you're afraid of the power. It's this like approach avoidance thing. So you run to it, you fall down and you say, "Get away, go away." So, and then look at Jesus' response in verse 18. Well, there's no response. As he was getting into the boat. So he's leaving. He had just come. This whole scene happens. He's getting into the boat. And as he does it, the man who had been possessed with demons begged him that he might be with him. Now,
That's cool. I
it
like
is
that
cool.
one.
And if you go back or recall when Jesus called the apostles, there was some phrase about he called them to be with him. Let's see. Well, it's here somewhere. So there's the idea that being with Jesus. But in this time, what does he say?
No,
He tells him he can't come.
no, he said,
And he didn't
Go-
permit
go
him.
tell your friends
go
and-
home.
Yeah,
Now this is interesting. What has Jesus told other people he's healed?
be still.
Shh, don't tell anybody. Just
Right.
do it. And here he says, go home to your friends, this is verse 19, and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. Now, I want you guys to take note of what Jesus said and then the narrator's comment about what the demon-possessed man had done. He says, go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. Well, who just did that for the man?
Jesus.
Jesus, right? And he says, tell them how much the Lord has done. And he's pointing, the hearers and the demon-possessed man to God. And look at the comment. And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. I don't know if this is, you got to think there was a beginning to blend this thing of the God and Jesus, because he said, look, tell them how much the Lord has done for you and his mercy. And he told them how much Jesus had done for him.
So had Jesus called himself the Lord before this?
Mm-mm.
So Jesus was coming into that point of saying,
But I mean, it could also, it's plausible deniability. Look what the Lord has done for you.
That he's,
I'm just saying, so one of the most frustrating things is there are things that are, I think, deliberately ambiguous. This would be a case. It's designed to, it could have gone either way. Is Jesus declaring himself Lord? Maybe. Is he ascribing the miracle to God in heaven? Yeah. So, and then how did the healed person, the man, take it? Jesus did this for me. I mean, he recognized the power. He had lived with the power of the demons for so long. So,
but the guy begged him to go with him, and so Jesus says, okay to
yeah,
the unclean spirits. He says, okay to the townspeople, see ya.
Yeah.
And then to the guy that he healed, he says, sorry, no.
what do you think?
no."
What was the difference, though, with the healings? One of the we batted around some possible reasons he didn't want that. Anybody remember? Dig back.
Oh, because of his mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
And he was already like surrounded by crowds. We had really gotten that from the beginning. Crowds around him. So that's even why he taught the parables in the boat. Lots of crowds. What's different in this area?
nobody there.
No one there. So he becomes basically a disciple. He goes
the
off.
one- I don't know, so all the parables, he's teaching all the parables about the seed and what happens to the seed and how Satan, in one form or another,
Yeah.
grabs the seed off the sidewalk, grows up thorns around him, all that interference. And, okay, that's an interesting, nice story, but it's almost like they get in the boat. Okay, this is what I'm talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
This is Satan. Satan knew they were coming. Satan was,
Yeah.
he was gonna stop the word, just like the sower of the seeds,
Yeah.
how much of the seed actually gets planted. I know this sounds weird, right? Seed, but if the seed is the word, and if the word of God was then crossing over, I don't know. Can you put this together for me? So.
But it goes back
Satan
to
knew that he was
Yeah.
coming and greeted him at the shore, and there was one guy there who then went without any training or anything else, got his heart broken by Jesus, but went and proclaimed what was obedient.
yeah.
Obedient. That gives me hope. This guy had no training. He got healed, period, end of story.
Yeah.
And then he went and was a famous evangelist in all of Decapolis, which was 10 cities, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what
Decapolis
Deca is, yeah.
And isn't that where they went then later to feed
We'll have-
fed the 4,000? When obviously they knew who he was at that point because of this guy.
Right. You have this in various places where the woman at the well in John, you go and she told everyone. She was a Samaritan. That was not cool. They were mixed breeds, And notice when Jesus sends him, what does he say? I think this is it's good to keep this in mind. Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. That's the message. The story of the healing, it kind of encapsulates it quite a bit. If you think of it right after the storm, it's the power of God now on earth. It's come in, and the legion of demons had to obey him, and they were vanquished. So there's a lot in that little. Tell them what he did, and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. This is all out of love and mercy. It is an ode you, but it's God's mercy. So there's a lot packed into this little charge that I think you could say encapsulates the good news. This is the gospel. This is what we're going to see. God comes in, power, vanquishes. We're clearly not going to finish the chapter today, but.
You know what I just thought of? His life was a testimony. When he went back to the people that knew him.
Oh, yeah.
If he had left with Jesus, they would not have known him as before. So he had to go back and be a witness, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Right?
sure.
Because
They knew the before and after.
Yeah.
It says how.
Maybe that was what God wanted to happen.
I would say it's a safe bet. Yeah. But, they tried to you could see the guys going out trying to shackle him, contain him. Oh, I'm sure they all had bruises from him. And
It'd be pretty scary.
so it's a big change, and
Yeah, like,
peace be still.
nobody can doubt that God didn't deliver him,
Yeah.
which is good.
So we're going to do, I may just say let's finish the chapter next time and not try to go ahead, because there's a really big change in the beginning in chapter 6. And there are kind of 2 stories in the rest of it. It's a long chapter. So I'll close us in prayer and we'll be on our way. Lord, thank you for giving us this time. Thank you for your word. Thank you that each time we read it, we learn more about you. And I pray you would send us off today with a greater love for you and for others. And help us, Lord, to shine your light, to proclaim what the Lord has done for us and how he's had mercy on us. And we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
So,
I got another.
shocking, yeah.
Probably don't know the answer. It's not in the word.
So hang on one second. Do you need the group for something?
No, I have another question.
Okay.
Where